wife was telling me that I have a, what are those fucking things those bottles you put water in, keeps hot things hot, cold things cold.
How do it know?
How does it know? Right. How does it know how to keep hot things hot, cold things cold?
Like a thermal?
And you put stickers on it, like so when we go places with my kids and like, what is that? It's Viscos? Was it a Visco girl? Was that one of the things?
That was a thing, yeah.
Hydro Flask. I have a Hydro Flask at home. And my Birkenstocks. Right.
Jesus, sandals.
And my wife was like, I couldn't get the thing open. You can't tighten them. You can't torque. You torqued it down too much, torquer. She called me torquer. And it's funny because it's like full circle. My mom used to call my dad Torque. Like that was his nickname, Torque, because he would just.
Right.
It's like all of, like that's how I grew up, tightening anything, was to tell that fucking thing was going to break or like just.
That's how you fix problems at your house. Your wife's mad at you, just fucking close all the jars. Just,
You told me that once. Yeah. Because then she needs you.
Then she needs you. Like, I need you to open this peanut butter for me. I got you, honey.
You ever tighten something so hard that you couldn't get it open?
Yeah, 100%. I'm pretty sure that's happened.
Like, oh, I welded this shut just to fuck with you. Sorry. Take it to the garage, get those channel locks on it. All right, episode 68.
The wild, wild west of soul.
I feel like I should have a cigarette and a cowboy hat.
Right?
Yep. All right, let's talk about the wild, wild west of solar. So, like, Arizona is the wild, wild west of solar for sure.
100%. The AHJs. We're starting with the AHJs.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what AHJ stands for, it's the authority having jurisdiction. So that can be your utility or your city or your county or anybody that they see that the government officials deem fit to be responsible for the safety of your projects.
Yeah. And they all have their own jurisdictions.
Fire
right?
marshal.
Yeah. Everybody, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about here in Arizona is every one of the jurisdictions decides which code book that they're gonna use and they're gonna reference for NEC, which NEC code book. You could literally cross the street, and if you're in a different jurisdiction, now they're expecting you to use a different NEC code book.
Right.
We know, right? We've been doing it long enough here that we know which jurisdictions are using which code books.
Until they change.
Until they change,
right.
Yeah. Which, obviously, we find out pretty quick.
So, I think we talked about this. The supply houses don't even have the newest one, the 2023.
Yeah.
And most people are still using the 2025 or the 2017.
Right.
Or the 2005, sorry, not 2025.
Right.
Or the 2017.
You also have.
I'm sorry, they're not using the 2005. That's the one I've got here. They're using the 2017 or the 14.
Yeah, some of them use the 14 still.
Yeah.
And even at that, like, you can have a city, like I called the city of Litchfield Park this morning, and was asking them some questions, and they told me that they needed to check the address because even though the address is in Litchfield Park, they might not be the AHJ for that address specific in Litchfield Park. And that's happened before. We've had things in Mesa where Mesa wasn't the authority having jurisdiction. You're just getting all your conglomerate of code books.
No, go ahead. You continue, yeah.
So you could be in the city of Mesa, but instead of the city of Mesa wanting to deal with that, it's the county of Maricopa. Or apparently you can be in Litchfield Park, but instead of Litchfield Park, it's the city of Phoenix. So It's just, I don't know how they choose, but.
So this is a 1968 National Electric Code, the NEC code, 1968.
68.
This is a 1993. So from 68 to 93, they went like this.
Looks like it's got a few.
It's got
like
a little bit
50,
bigger.
100 more pages, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. And then in 2005, I'm missing some. If anybody knows where I can find the pieces that I'm missing to my collection, please comment below. I'd love to get it. 2005, 2007, all these now are the same size. So they're like, that's the change now. So I always laugh because I talk to my plumber or my HVAC friends, and they're like, "Oh, our job, we got to know so much." I'm like, "You don't got to know shit. Let's see your code book." They pull out a code book. It's this little tiny fucking pamphlet, and then I pull out my code book, and I'm like, "This is what we got to know." Like you don't need to know shit. Yeah, exactly. I feel like the print is smaller in the big one than it is in the small one. So like, there is so much shit you have to know to satisfy the authorities having jurisdiction, and it's hard to stay up to date. But that's our job: staying up to date, knowing the codes. Some of these codes in this are the same as in this. Like some of them haven't changed.
Right.
Right. I mean, if it's not broke, you don't have to fix it.
The nightmare is most of the time it gets like more stringent as far as like you got to do more. There's more safety going from an older code book to a newer code book. We really end up with some issues when they get less stringent on what they're asking for. Even if we build for the newest code book, it could be, if they're using one of the older ones, we could not pass our inspections and have to do some.
And then in 2017, finally, the NEC paid homage to solar. So you can see on the book itself, they've got modules in the back as the image, and they really expanded their kind of overseeing the solar installation and the jurisdiction. So there's a lot more in this book than has ever been in solar, and it's going to get better and better. So it's hard to keep up with them. And then the utilities have their own books.
Right.
They're like, we have to do it a certain way, or they make the rules for that.
They have their handbooks. Yep.
The cities also have some issues, some certain things that they ask for, but mainly when it comes to the city itself, they can't tell you to do anything that's not in the National Electric Code. Like we don't have to learn. The city doesn't have like a bunch of codes that don't align with the National Electric Code. So
some of them do, but like the city
like
of Scottsdale,
the National Electric Code is the bad as it's going to be, aside from like the painting of the conduit.
Yeah, aside from specific things that jurisdictions ask you to do, and they will not allow you to pass and turn systems on if you don't do those.
And some of them
like
are like
painting
ridiculous,
conduits.
like they had to paint the conduits the same color of the house.
Yep.
Which I was like, how does that have anything to do with
the
the integrity of the system or the safety of the system?
Yep.
It's just bullshit.
And then you have jurisdictions like Mesa,
Gilbert,
where you don't even have to pull a solar permit. You don't even have to. You may, depending on the size of the system and how you're going to connect to the SES, you may have to pull an electrical permit. But in the city of Mesa and the city of Gilbert, you don't have to pull.
It's still an electrical permit.
Yeah, it's still an electrical permit. You don't have to pull a permit for the solar specific, but then the utilities ask you to have electrical stamps on the drawings so that they'll accept them.
Right, but they don't even look at them. They don't even look at the system installed. So now you got a bunch of fucking idiots out there that don't know what they're doing, installing systems, and nobody's looking at them.
Yep.
And we get guys in here like applying for work, telling us that they've worked for companies, and the whole mentality with the owners is, hey, we're gonna run and gun for 2 years as best we can and then we'll shut it down, because all the liability disappears when they shut the organization down. They hit that easy money, and they get as much as they can, and then they wash it out before anybody finds out there's something wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. It's just, there's a lot, right? There's like 3 jurisdictions here that even get on the roof.
So we have
and look at the solar.
We have the whole gamut. We have the least intrusive inspection details, or the least amount of stuff you have to do, versus the maximum amount of stuff you have to do. including extra permits, structural engineering.
Which is the city of Phoenix.
Right.
The actual city of Phoenix.
And Litchfield I thought was bad too.
Litchfield's pretty bad. Yeah, Litchfield Park,
yeah,
is pretty bad too. City of Phoenix, you got to pull a fire permit, and those firefighters do get up on the roof and take measurements and make sure that everything is the way that it, which is great.
And
right?
and
as long as you're doing it right, it doesn't matter.
And that goes same for residential or commercial. Same. All right. So what else we got? Installing solar. Well, that's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can install without a permit. Some people do that, even though there is a permit required.
Yeah. I hear a lot. It's more and more. It's happening where companies or people are installing solar without permits.
So solar takes a long time. It just takes a long time to do the process correctly. So you have to, when you sign a contract with a contractor to install solar, you got 3 days to call them up and say, you know what?
Oh yeah.
I made a mistake. Your salesman pressured me. I didn't feel like I don't want it. Whatever it is,
cancel.
My shoes didn't come in the mail. I'm canceling it.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. So now what they found is, and then so what they're trying to do is get in and give you something before that 3 days ends, so that you feel like you can't cancel because they've already started work. But you can. You got 3 days to cancel. And then, so we wait that 3 days. Typically, we don't invest a lot in that project and for 3 days because we want you to be comfortable and we don't want to have to risk being out, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like it's engineering or site visits or.
And even at that, like our cancellation rate is way lower than I hear some of these other sales organizations or install organizations. Like
we're going to talk about the sales organizations next door.
But our cancellation rates are super, like it almost never happens.
So what we've got is, we've got that 3 days, and then after that, we do a site evaluation with our engineering team. So we make sure everything that was sold can be done, and then because we sell ourselves, our estimators are trained to know what to look for, but we double check, right? We double check because we want to make sure that we're protecting you, the consumer, and then that takes a while, a week or two, to get stamped engineered drawings, and then that has to go to both the city, both the AHJs, the city and the utility, unless you're in Mesa
or Gilbert.
Or Gilbert. And then that could take weeks. So we don't really know. They give us some kind of ballpark typically. There's an average, but really at any given time it could take 3.
We go back to the city of Phoenix with that. They literally
depending on which city you go to.
We literally just got into their new program so that we can get things through quicker, right? They just started a pilot program and we're in it so that we can get things through the city of Phoenix a little quicker. But up until that point, and hopefully it continues, but 45 days before they would even look at a set of plans.
Right. So now you're 45 plus a couple weeks on the front end. So now you're 2 months in to a 30,000 plus system potentially, and you haven't seen anything happen. So now you can you can cancel then. You could probably just cancel your contract, but you might owe engineering costs and the cost that they have sunk in, right? But if there's no product on your roof, I mean, that's really the bulk of it. But now there's contractors that are installing right after the 3 days. So what they're doing is you sign, they wait the 3 days, they're here and they're going to install your roof without permission. And they're doing that so you can't back out, you can't complain, there's nothing to protect you. But if the utility comes back and makes them change things, they're moving things around. Now there's extra penetrations in your roof. That's the last thing you want.
And if they get caught doing work without a permit, they're going to get fined. It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But
like you don't want to work with anybody that's not going to follow the process. But let's say they do install. If they install on your roof without a permit, you can cancel contract and keep that. It's yours free. They can't come back on your house to take it from you. They might be able to lien your property. Depending, but like if they're not following the rules, then they're a breach of contract. So just know that you may be able to, you want to call the ROC if that happens. You want to make sure that you see a permit in hand, right? You don't want to have a paperweight up there that you might have financed that's never going to get turned on. And good luck getting out of the finance company. And then you'll be stuck in a lawsuit with the contractor that's going to go out of business
that just
in 2
close
years
their doors.
and bankrupt. And then we're left picking up the pieces, which we're happy to do so. Like, we'll come and help you get it engineered and follow the process and get it turned back on and redo it. But you're gonna pay for it twice.
I got another one of those calls this morning too.
Yeah.
Someone called in, left a message. I called them back this morning, and some company did half of it and just took some money and disappeared.
Yeah, fuckers. So just be careful with what's going on out there. So let's going back to selling solar. So Register of Contractors requires that you have a license to install the work you are selling. Let me repeat that again. So if somebody knocks on your door and tries to sell you solar, they need to have an electrical license in order to just sell you that product.
Yep.
So it's only that way for contractors. It's not that way for vacuums, right? Like,
right.
They're knocking on your door.
Like, yeah.
And that doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in. That's Arizona. You have to have a license. Contractors are required to have their license number on all marketing materials, all of them, trucks, business cards,
Yep.
advertisement online. I think the only thing that we don't have to have it on is the shirts that we're
Yep.
wearing. But everything has to have a license. And then what we're finding now is people are selling, pretending to be contractors, and they're not. They're using somebody else's license.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of...
So my recommendation on that, right, is figure out what the ROC is that they're using. The ROC and the name of their company.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, and then check the ROC that those match. Because a lot of times it's not going to.
And here's the problem. If something happens to your solar that's installed by the contractor, that contractor wasn't contracted with you. He was contracted with that sales company, and now there's no protection for the consumer. So you're going to have a hard time getting anything that the sales middleman, which is what they are, they're middleman, cheats, sneaks, thieves, whatever you want to call them. They're stealing from you, because if you went just straight to the installer, you could have got a better price and have all the warranties.
Yep.
and all the benefits. But what they're doing is, where was I? I lost my train of thought.
Good.
Like, so double check them, right? So there's a company out there that sounds like us. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say the name, but they're out there selling solar. They're not registered on the ROC.
My family asked about it this weekend, right? So I was like doing some research.
They're hitting doors.
They're hitting doors. They got a bunch of commercials. Like, they're out there and about. And I was like, I got to look into this. Like, what's going on? So I was looked at the website, right? They got all this. I was on TV here. I was on TV here. I was on
it's
TV
all bullshit, because I know the company. It just started.
It's
all bullshit.
Finally, I found out that the company started in March of this year, something like that. I couldn't find an ROC anywhere. Not on their website, nowhere. And I started looking at the registered contractor, like, where is this? I can find the name. Nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you get so much exposure, right, that people are asking me about your company, and you don't even have an ROC anywhere to be
found? Marketing, man. And a lot of sales and marketing companies are good at that. And a lot of contractors suck. No, contractors don't want to knock on doors. They just want to do the work that they're trained to do and they're good at.
Right.
So when you guys use a third party or a middleman sales, one, you're driving them to drive costs down. So what they do is they contract with you for $3 a watt. And then they go and call 72, all of the fucking solar installers and say, can you install this for $2 a watt or less? And then they keep that dollar in between. When all you had to do was check to see if they're licensed, probably save you 50 cents a watt immediately. Yep. So do your due diligence, check the ROC. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure we can beat anybody's price out there, because that's the majority of people knocking on your door are fucking sales arms. And they don't do the install. They don't know what they're doing. They're just stealing from you, essentially.
don't let these guys pressure you either. Don't let them pressure you. They're that kitchen table like sales. Oh, of course. You got to ask for the sale for sure.
I want to be at your. I want to walk at your kitchen table. I want to walk with you and sit down at your kitchen table. But the contractor's license is what protects you as a consumer. You're not protected, and you're being taken advantage of by any middleman in any industry.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Buying solar.
Buying solar.
Cash. Cash is king.
Oh, yeah.
Cash money, not a check written out to cash, not a check written out to the business. Well, when we shook hands and you said you're going to pay cash, that doesn't mean you're going to write me a check. Cash. That doesn't mean Venmo. That doesn't mean Zelle.
Cash is king.
That doesn't mean cashier's check.
Checks work too.
Doesn't mean Bitcoin. It doesn't mean coin.
Should we start accepting
Bitcoin? No, we shouldn't start accepting Bitcoin.
Comment below.
I can't believe that shit's still around, by the way.
Bitcoin?
I still get people hitting me in my DMs like, hey, I got this new cryptocurrency that's starting up, and we're getting $60 an hour every day you want in. It's only a small fee, but it's all bullshit. Cash is king. Another way, home equities, also a good one. Like if you're gonna buy a home and you can wrap solar into your mortgage, I think that's a great way because one, interest rates are less than half of what they are if you finance through a solar financing company.
Yep.
Financing companies are outrageous depending on which one you use. Most of them are outrageous. You're looking dealer fees could be 15-20%.
They're building in finance fees. So the solar industry building in finance fees and they're calling them dealer fees.
Right.
And it's something that us as a dealer of their product has to pay. And we all know that the way business works is if we have to have a cost for anything, material, labor, finance fees, right, to offer you a product, that ultimately is going to go down to the consumer.
I mean, if you got a $30,000 solar system, it's $30,000 cash, but if you finance, it's $36,000.
Or more.
Or more. Like it really is crazy, and that's just like initially, right? And then if you make the payments, yeah, it's tough. So you wanna make sure that you're buying solar smart. You don't want to just sign up if the salesman can show you that your payment's going to be less than if your solar payment is going to be less than your utility payment or the savings, right? The savings of your utility. So if you're saving $100 a month and you're on your utility bill because you install solar and your solar payment's $80, I feel that's a smart investment.
Yeah.
Because it will compound over time as utilities start to increase charges. That means you're saving exponentially, right? But if you don't have a 6 to 10 year payback period, don't do it. We're seeing 6-year paybacks, and if you're not seeing anything like that, give us a call.
Also, if the tax liability portion of it is pretty important as well when you start looking at the numbers. Yeah. We've seen a lot of people getting sold solar systems in the idea that they're going to get 30% of that paid for. But it's not really that. It's a tax credit that you can get as long as you have the tax liability, federal tax liability.
There are a lot of new stuff in the Green New Deal that they're still going through as far as they're still trying to disseminate that information and how those things work. But if you got a sales company that's in your house trying to sell you a new air conditioner, a new roof, a new anything along with your solar and tell you you're getting 30% tax credit, that's tax fraud. Who do you think is going to be responsible for that? Not them, because they're not filing your taxes. But if you listen to them file your taxes, you could be audited. And with 60,000 new tax auditors that the government's bringing on board, which is a whole nother conversation.
Be a lot.
Just got to be careful because the only thing that can be, like the roof, if the roof needs to be replaced, it's the roof that's around that your solar system's going to be on.
Yep.
It's specifically for the solar. The rest of the roof doesn't qualify. There may be energy tax credits for other things.
Yeah.
Windows, air conditioning, and stuff. It's not in the energy in the ITC for solar that we're talking about here.
Yep.
So just be careful when you're buying. If you got a bid, bring it over to us. We'll take a look at it. We'll give you a second opinion.
Yep. Hopefully that helped.
I guess that's the end.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about? How long? That was a long one. Sorry. Long-winded. Thanks for watching.
Have a good one.